Alrighty, let's do this. All right, we are live. This week on the Coach and the Don, we dive into the looming NFL trade deadline. We continue with a new segment titled What If? We then go into our NFL casting call, this week starring The Office. And finally, we finish off the podcast breaking down our favorite franchise, the one thing that we would change. And another beautiful Monday night in the City of Angels. Talon, Coach Graff, how are you doing?
Doing well, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing great. Always good to be back. Another segment of the Coach and the Don. Lot of things to discuss. Always is. There's always a lot of things to discuss. I mean, we can talk about anything, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So
Anything.
yeah. But we're just going to dive right into the trade deadline. Obviously, a big splash in NFL circles today with the Raiders trading Amari Cooper, former first-round pick. Was he a fourth overall pick?
I don't think he was that high.
No. Yeah. Was he 10th overall? Either way, he was a first-round pick. Swapped him to Dallas for a first-round pick.
Oh, I stand corrected. He was the fourth overall pick.
Look at that. Don't doubt me. Don't doubt the Don.
I never will again.
Good. Let it be known. Don't doubt the Don. So yeah, former fourth overall pick. They were able to get a first for him. I'm shocked by that personally. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, when they asked for it, I thought, okay, like that's just their way to leverage into a second-round pick or something. But yeah, Jerry Jones rolls up his sleeves and says, "It's time to go to work, boys." And they give up a first-round pick. So yeah, I think it's a bit high, but I don't know.
We went into last week some of our potential trades, and I think I had actually said that I think he was going to get traded to the Cowboys, but I valued him at like a third or even a fourth, third at most, and they get a first. So I mean, to me, with the productions he'd had over last year, obviously looked great his rookie year and second season, but last year and this year, getting a first for that kind of production, that's a win for the Raiders, I think. I mean, they seem to be in full rebuild mode, and adding another first-round pick, I guess if you're going to get in that mode, that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Just start the game console and play Madden. That's what Gruden's doing.
Right? It feels like franchise mode on Madden.
It does.
Trading away your best. Do you see any more? It seems like everyone's pretty much on the block. Do you see any more guys before Tuesday, October 30th, his deadline hits? Any more Raiders will be in new uniforms?
I don't think it will happen, but I'd love to see Derek Carr move on somewhere.
A team that I kind of was talking to a buddy with earlier that I don't think it'll happen, but how awesome it would be if he got traded to Jacksonville.
Yeah, that would be pretty.
I mean, that team, they have other issues besides just quarterback. The defense has not been playing like they should be playing anyway. Call it coaching, call it what you want. Obviously, they have injuries on the offensive side of the ball. But that's an immediate upgrade, I think. I mean, people can say what they want about Carr, and I think he's been kind of on the downturn the last few years after he kind of looked really good his first two seasons. But in my opinion, I think that would still be a huge upgrade for them, not only in just leadership, but in actual being able to complete a football.
Yeah.
But I think where the interesting thing that why it probably couldn't happen is just with that contract. It'd have to be a trade and renegotiate, or they'd have to swap one of their expensive defensive guys or someone else that would kind of balance out the contract difference.
Yeah.
But
man, I'm just I'm in my head thinking like what other teams would fit with Carr. And one interesting one that I again don't think it'll happen, but could be fun to see. I wonder if Nagy sees Derek Carr as a fit in his offense, is somehow talks the GM into trading Trubisky, and then like a swap of like a third and a fourth round pick.
Ugh. I
Do
don't.
you think?
I
Do
don't
you think
think
it's too
so.
soon?
I mean, and I think as bad as Trubisky has looked, and let's be honest, his stats over the last 3 weeks on paper look good. What, 6 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns? But if you watch the
Oh yeah.
games, he's completing under like 50% of his passes. He's still missing wide open guys. He's
Mm-hmm.
made some good plays. He's shown why he was that second overall pick, but
Mm-hmm.
he still is also not in even the conversations, I think, of a top 15, top 20 quarterback. And he's still super young. And, he only played 1 year in college, now 1 year pro. So he's played 2 years of
Mm-hmm.
competitive football. But that being said, I don't know if, with how much the Bears gave up to get him, I don't know if they'd be willing, unless it was just a pure swap. I mean, it would be, for the Bears, I think it'd be an upgrade right now, but that potential, that ceiling, that Carr,
Mm-hmm.
we may have seen Carr's ceiling. I don't think we've seen Trubisky's yet, so I think that's where the ramifications would come in with that. But it would be
Yeah,
interesting.
it would be interesting. Yeah, I kind of yeah I preface, but I don't think it'll happen. But just that would be something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Nagy to me, and you would know better than me, him being a Chiefs coach last year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the accuracy is an issue, like I mentioned. But I think
Mm-hmm.
just with his running ability, I think Trubisky still fits better in a Nagy system than Carr would.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Not that
You know.
Carr's completely immobile, but I think
Mhm.
Trubisky's more able to run and extend plays better than Carr.
Yeah, and I think it's the arm strength of Trubisky that they like the most. Um, but yeah, his accuracy is just not where it needs to be.
No, not at all. It's shocking actually for being that
Yeah.
high of a pick and that bad of accuracy. I mean, that's like it's the whole Josh Allen thing, but neither here
Yeah.
nor there. So, well, let's okay. So Cooper goes to the Cowboys. Some other kind of notable names that have at least come up in trade talks. We'll just kind of go down this list and we can kind of banter back and forth on it. Patrick Peterson came out today. I don't know if it was. I can't. I don't think it was him tweeting. I think it was his brother or someone tweeting saying that he wants to be traded and wants to be traded to the Saints. You see that happening whatsoever?
To the Saints, no, I don't think they have any sort of draft pick because I know they don't have their 2019 first round.
Yeah, they already gave that
And
up last draft.
I'm fairly certain they don't have a 2019 third. So I mean, they don't have a lot of firepower in that realm of things. So I don't think the Saints are realistic unless they can somehow put together a really good deal.
Yeah,
Um,
he makes it. Makes sense adding him to the Saints roster. But yeah, I agree. I don't think the Saints will be able to persuade the Cardinals to trade him to them.
no. Another interesting thought is the Chiefs. I talked about it last week, but kind of the same thing. I don't know if the Chiefs have enough, draft stock and stuff like that to really put together a great deal. Um, and then other teams. I mean, you think about contenders, and none of them really need cornerbacks. Minnesota, their starting quarterback just went down, Mike Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a potential area of need, but again, I don't think Minnesota could really put together an offer.
Yeah, they have no
Good
cap
enough.
space after signing Cousins and all that. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, we tweeted out from the Al Dente account earlier today. Um, I would be shocked if one of the AFC West teams, not including the Raiders, did not at least make some offers. Chiefs make a ton of sense.
Hmm.
I think the Broncos make sense. The biggest thing with the Broncos is I don't think they're a true contender. So why are you going to give up a lot of assets for someone if you're not truly going to contend?
Right.
But I could still see them maybe putting an offer out there. One that's not really getting talked about, but I think would make a ton of sense is the Chargers. Obviously, losing a corner in training camp for the year.
Hmm.
Casey Hayward obviously is their stud, but I wouldn't say they have question marks across from him, but I mean it would certainly be an upgrade getting a guy like Peterson, and they're that team that now 5-2, looking really strong. Probably not quite at the level of Kansas City, but hey, if they add Patrick Peterson, all of a sudden they have a defense that I still don't think they can stop Kansas City, but can have a little better effort slowing them down, and then the offense that the Chargers have, that becomes much better matchup. So that's a team I think not really getting a lot of talk. But I could, to me it makes sense for them to make a move. But either way, an AFC West team, I think, has the biggest shot at getting him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Chargers, they make sense. They do. Um, and I mean, any cornerback in the league, it would be an upgrade to get Patrick Peterson. So yeah, it's definitely something the Chargers would be a very opportunistic team to do that. Um, Other teams, I don't think there's anybody outside of the West, like you said, that really have a shot
Mm-hmm.
at landing a guy like Patrick Peterson. And if he gets traded at all, we'll see where that tug of war, ends. But
Yeah, I mean the
I'd like
Cardinals
to
have
see
come
him
out
go
and said they're
somewhere.
not going to trade him, but I think every team probably says that. But they're
Right.
obviously going to field offers when you're as bad as they are. They're certainly rebuilding.
And another thing to kind of bring up though, with that is I kind of and I think it's the same ownership. I think it's the same uh, leadership at the helm in charge of these things. I could be wrong, but either way, Carson Palmer back in the day, um, when he didn't want to. Well, wait a minute. Never mind.
No,
Nope, never mind.
you sure?
Yep, I'm flipping it. I'm flipping it in my head. So no, this wouldn't have made sense. But anyway, um,
All right,
what? But
Carson
anyway,
Palmer. Never mind.
yeah, yeah, never mind. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the stalemate goes.
Yeah. You hope for him, that he can go to a contender, but I mean he's still young, so he can ride out that rebuild maybe. Some other names that have kind of popped up: Broncos receivers, linebackers. They've kind of talked about Demarius Thomas, Brandon Marshall on the defensive side of the ball, even Emmanuel Sanders. Obviously, trading any of these guys are basically Broncos management saying we're not necessarily packing it in, but we're kind of planning for the future as opposed to continuing our quest for playoffs this year. Um, the only one personally that I can really see happening is Demarius Thomas just because of his contract. But then again, I think teams will be interested in Thomas, but at the same time, I mean I think he's due 15 or 16 million next year. And at his age, I don't know if anyone's going to want to take that contract on unless they were able to kind of do a sign and trade kind of situation, like how the Redskins did with Alex Smith. But things have happened. I, as a fan, would hate to see him go. He's just been so instrumental for the Broncos organization. Yeah, he's had his struggles here and there, but overall, if he were to play or finish his career in Denver, he would be the greatest Denver Broncos receiver of all time. He'll break all of Rod Smith records if he does stay. He's close to that anyway, but obviously if he gets traded or isn't here next year, I don't know if he will. But he's just a class guy. Always, he's a strong leader, not necessarily a vocal leader, but a strong leader by his play, by his experience, just his charisma, how he does the game, how he approaches the game, practices. So as a fan, I mean, any fan when you trade away a guy. So I personally I hope it doesn't happen, but it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely sympathize with that. You never want to see one of your hometown boys go that has been a part of the team, won a lot of championships with you. You get emotionally attached to these guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get it. I would, if I were a Bronco fan, I'd hate to see something like that happen as well. But as you said, there's a business side to things.
Yeah, it's kind of like you probably with Derek Thomas signing with the Raiders this offseason.
Derek Johnson.
Derek Johnson, excuse me. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, Derek Johnson. Derek Thomas would have been a crazy signing, not possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as teams to sign him go or trade for him, off the top of my head, none really jump out at me that need. I mean, the Cowboys were one, but obviously they got Amari Cooper.
Right. Maybe Carolina.
Carolina potentially, maybe a Jacksonville. I mean, they still don't have a ton of elite power at the receiver, but they're. I'm not saying they're rebuilding, but they're the way they've been playing the last few weeks, they're in no way in contention. But obviously, maybe they think someone like him could turn it around. Brandon Marshall, another guy, he's a linebacker. I know the Broncos are super high on Josie Jewell, linebacker out of Iowa, who they took in the 4th round. So I think Marshall's name has come up. Me personally, I really don't think any of the Broncos guys are going to get moved. I just don't. So I think Obviously, things can change if this Sunday they get blown out by the Chiefs and the trade deadline's Tuesday. Maybe they'll decide to blow things up. But a lot, I think, will be dependent on that. If they can come out and even if they lose, but it's another competitive game, I don't think they'll move on from many of those guys unless they know that basically they're not going to be here next year. So why not try to get a late round pick for one of them?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
some other guys we can kind of roll through. Let's go the positions a little bit here. So quarterbacks, some quarterbacks that I think could be potentially on the move. Only starter we kind of mentioned him, Derek Carr. I think some
Hmm.
backups that maybe some teams might go after Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, an interesting one, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know if those names you think would draw any interest.
They might. Tyrod definitely, I think, would be the most highly touted. I don't think anybody's going to trade for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Um, uh, you know
I
why?
Yeah, I mean
you know.
I don't think Tampa would want to trade him. Just he struggled later after his great
Mhm.
first two games, but he's still a very good backup. So why would you want to get rid of that?
Exactly. Um, and then I believe you also said Jacoby Brissett. He's the backup in Indianapolis, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he played well in that starting role. I think his rookie year, and he's had time behind Tom Brady, so he's played with two of the best.
Mm-hmm.
So his mind should be advanced from what his age is. Yeah, I could see someone putting giving up a fifth round pick for Brissett, and Colt. Why would Colts turn that down? Fifth round pick's pretty good value for a kid that you're not planning on any future with other than backup.
Yeah. Yeah. And any teams you think would maybe go after Terod or Jacoby?
Um, I mean, and if the Giants wanted to give up a fifth round for Jacoby,
Yep, that's what
you
I
know,
was thinking of.
you know, maybe that Tyrod. It would have to be a team that's ready to win now, but maybe have a little question marks at quarterback. So Jacksonville, maybe. Um, Another one that comes to mind is maybe Tampa Bay. Put a little bit more pressure on Jameis, see what happens. Tyrod Taylor is a reliable quarterback, so if Jameis isn't working out and you don't really trust Ryan Fitzpatrick anymore, it may be worth bringing Tyrod in.
Yeah, yeah. To me, the only three teams that would maybe go after one of these quarterbacks that they think could either light a fire under their starter or actually come in and start would be, as you mentioned, Jacksonville, and then also potentially Miami, just because Tannehill can't stay healthy. I don't think. I mean, that team started off 3-0, a lot of potential there. Obviously, Osweiler did win him a game, but I don't think anyone thinks that he's going to be the one. Say Tannehill's injury keep him out. He's not the one that's going to lead you to the playoffs, really. And the other one, Tennessee. I mean, Mariota, former second round pick, still doesn't seem all right with his nerve damage in his hand.
Yeah.
Um, to be blunt, he really hasn't been that great as the last few years. I mean, I feel like he played well his rookie year and has been very average at best. Yeah, he got a playoff win last year against your very own Chiefs, but I don't think he's been necessarily. Um, he hasn't been Carson Wentz, was a second round pick or a second overall pick. So I mean, there's definitely why not go after someone that, if anything, can light a fire, especially when their backup right now, I believe, is Blaine Gabbert. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's an interesting topic. Because Mariota has struggled, and I think that's one of the reasons they brought in the floor. They were hoping that he would bring some of that quarterback whisperer from McVay over with him. Obviously, hadn't happened yet, but maybe injuries are a part of that. And um, unfortunately, yeah, Mariota hasn't kind of lived up to the hype that everybody kind of figured would be there by now. Um, so yeah, that could be a potential landing spot for old Tyrod
yeah,
or any of the other quarterbacks.
yeah, you never know. So receivers, we already mentioned DT and Sanders, so we won't get too much into them. Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are just a mess. They traded
Yeah.
for him last year. Maybe they could get something out of him. I mean, I think they're at the point now where they're probably thinking just. I mean, I feel like they've been trying to hoard draft picks for years, but they might still be in that boat. See any chance of him moving?
Um, for the same reason Buffalo wants to get rid of him, I don't know if anybody's going to take him.
I agree with you.
Uh, you know, yeah. It's just he doesn't seem like a team player. He kind of likes to ruffle feathers and doesn't really produce on the field enough to back any of it up.
No.
Um,
He had a great
so
rookie year, got
yeah,
injured his second year,
yep.
and pretty much has been non-existent since. So I wouldn't think any team would really go after him, but you never know.
No, the only team that I would think would even take a shot and somehow they would put a package together where it included like a conditional 6th or 7th round pick because these guys are just apparently mind screwing every other GM in the league. But the Patriots would be, and probably be able to pull off not only a steal of a trade, but within your division. I could see something like that happen.
uh, yeah, and he'd probably be pretty good there. I mean,
Of
he'd
course
play
he
his
would.
role. He'd be a red zone threat. So you
Yep.
figure he's what 6'5". You have him and Gronk in the red zone, and you got Edelman and Gordon stretching the field like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't shock me. Everyone just likes to make the Patriots better for some reason. Like, oh, let's just give our assets to the Patriots. Why not?
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense. Hopefully not, but I could see that. The only other receiver we mentioned him last week, or I mentioned him last week. Again, I love when I see guys finish their careers in one place. But if they could get something for him, the Cardinals definitely are in a rebuild. I could see Fitzgerald um, be at least a topic of interest. I don't think he wants to go anywhere, but like I said, if someone's going to offer you a fourth or fifth round pick for a guy that might retire anyway next year, and you're going to be terrible this year, why would you not take it?
Hmm.
I kind of mentioned last week. I think Chicago and Carolina would be great fits for him. I still stand by that.
Yeah. They would be good fits and they would be good additions. Um, but yeah, I don't think he gets moved. I don't think he wants that. I don't think the organization wants it. Um, I would like to see him go to a team that has a really good shot at winning a Super Bowl. But if you look at those teams, none of them are really wide receiver needy. Um,
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, the only ones are really, like I mentioned, Carolina and Chicago. And is Chicago
mhm,
really? They're definitely good, but are they really a Super Bowl contender? Carolina
mhm.
maybe, but I mean the NFC has some elite teams above them. But yeah,
Yeah, an interesting spot is New Orleans. Um, I mean, Michael Thomas is having a hell of a year, but you need someone to play it in a secondary role or a slot role, which Larry can do both. Um, and they're a team that's looking like a contender to stop New Orleans or to stop LA. So um, that would be interesting to see.
that would be interesting actually. Yeah,
But I don't think it happens.
yeah. Like you said, they don't. I don't know if they have the assets, but they would. I think they have a lot more potential to get someone like Fitz as opposed to Patrick Peterson, just because Peterson's going to demand, not Peterson, but the Cardinals for Peterson would demand at
Mm,
least a first round pick, I would think. And Fitzgerald, no one's going to give a first round for a soon to be retiring receiver, so that one could be more likely happening. But I don't know if they'll go after him. But that'd be interesting. I mean, he would definitely be a huge help. I mean, the offense is already fantastic, but you add him in there, like, are you kidding me?
hmm
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
yes, it would. It would
Um,
be.
last thing I kind of want to touch on with free agency, or excuse me, trade deadline. We saw Carlos Hyde traded last week to Jacksonville.
Hmm.
What do you think that means for Fournette?
I think it means that he might want to start packing a emergency suitcase. Um, if I'm Jacksonville, I spent I believe a 4th overall pick on him.
Yep, fourth overall.
Um, and he has not produced at all. Um, he's shown flashes, but he just cannot stay healthy. So why not go out and get yourself a Carlos Hyde? TJ Yeldon is a very good backup, and Carlos Hyde is having a good year. He's a good running back.
Mm-hmm.
He was good for San Francisco. So yeah, get Fournette, get something for him. Someone who's sitting on 2019 first round picks is John Gruden, and hey, Fournette's a young guy, someone you might be able to build around a rebuilding offense. And Marshawn Lynch is on his way out, and they don't have a formidable backup, so you know I could see it happening.
Yeah, okay, so see them actually move on from him.
Yeah, I think they trade him. I mean, a 4th overall pick, you don't trade to bring a guy in to back up somebody just in case he gets hurt. I think you bring somebody like Carlos Hyde in to kind of lead your team to bridge them to your next franchise running back, which could be 3 or 4 years down the road. And Carlos Hyde, is a fairly young guy.
Okay, wow, interesting. Okay, so you don't think they brought him in more of just a they have a now when Fournette ever does come back, they have just a 1-2 battering ram, 1-2 punch, and then Yeldon can be their kind of third down guy, but they have a lot of options. You think it's more of a, you know what? Maybe we move on from Fournette.
Yeah, I do. I think they're moving on. I
Wow.
think he gets traded.
After a year and a half, okay. Just this is his second year in the NFL, but I was against drafting him that high anyway, just because he had injury troubles in college. I mean, yeah, you can't deny his talent and how good of a back he is, but he has a history of not being healthy. So unfortunately, this isn't anything new if you really pay attention to his history. But all right, well, I mean, we'll see if Hyde ends up being the guy down there and they get rid of him, or if anything, they'll just use that 1-2 and hope to run the ball 50 times a game and have Bortles throw it about twice.
Yeah, hey, which may not be a bad game plan. So maybe that is what they're doing.
I'm surprised they didn't address it in the offseason. I know they made it as far as they did, and then they kind of Bortles played a little better down the stretch, so they came out in the offseason and said, no, he's our starter. We're not making any changes. And then again this week, they named him the starter again, and I just think they're hurting themselves. They need to. I know he was a third overall pick, and it's hard to move on from a third overall pick, but
Mhm.
do you? How often do you watch Jacksonville games? You've watched enough Bortles film, have you not?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's just so clear when you just watch his throwing motion.
yeah.
It's the slowest slowing motion I've ever seen, and it's just bizarre. I don't get it. Um, yeah, okay. Well, I think we've beat the trade deadline to death.
Yeah, I think we have to.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on. So let's do our what if segment, huh?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this is gonna be kind of a fun segment. We'll do I don't know if we'll do it every single week, but we'll do it bi-weekly or once a month or just kind of whenever we feel like. But basically, we're gonna take a time, and we'll obviously for now keep sticking to NFL. We'll expand it to maybe all sports down the line, but a time in an NFL moment or an NFL game or some NFL instance in history, and what if something like the opposite happened, or what if kind of the example when we were talking about it, the Tuck rule. What if that day and whatever that was, December or early January when the Raiders were playing the Patriots and Tom Brady was still a brand new rookie or second year quarterback, gets sacked, fumbles, Raiders recover, would have ended the game, but the Tuck rule comes out, they get it, the Patriots win, they go on to win the Super Bowl, and now Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, yada 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 down the line. What if that didn't happen? What if the Tuck rule wasn't in play? So that's kind of the thought process behind here. So what if we decided on this week that I think is going to be kind of fun to talk about. What if Marcus Williams of the New Orleans Saints makes the tackle on Stephon Diggs in the NFC Championship game? Tom, I'm going to let you just kind of take it away. Do what you need to do.
You got it. Um, so yeah, I believe there is less than 15 seconds. Is no time left essentially.
Yeah,
Last play of the
last play
game.
of the game.
Last play of the game. Marcus Williams doesn't make a tackle. Ducks his head. I'm not sure what the reasoning, but Stephon Diggs makes a catch, turns upfield, goes miracle touchdown. But what if Marcus Williams makes a tackle? Vikings scramble to the line, trying to get one more attempt at a miracle, but it doesn't happen. Time runs out. New Orleans beats Minnesota. Go on to face Philadelphia in the NFC Championship. Uh, Probably beat Philadelphia because New Orleans had a great defense, and they had Drew Brees. Um, you know, Eagles pretty much handled Case Keenum in that offense of Minnesota. But it's a different story if you're facing a guy like Brees in an NFC Championship game. So I think the Saints would go on to the Super Bowl, play Brady. Um, Same outcome. I think Drew Brees gets his second Lombardi and beats the Patriots, and um, they roll into the offseason as defending champions, and there's so many different things that could have happened. Marcus Davenport may not be there if the Saints win the Super Bowl. Um, so yeah, I mean, so many things with one split second. If it alters, the entire history of the NFL could be rewritten. Um, so that's kind of the basis of what we're doing here. We want to pick one of those moments and just show They literally say it's a game of inches, game of seconds, um, and it's so true. So what if those seconds don't happen or they're reversed? And so yeah, Marcus Williams making that tackle changes a lot of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's it's funny because I remember championship weekend when everyone the big talk was the four quarterbacks. How it was Brady, and then it was Bortles, Nick Foles, and Case Keenum, and it was like this first time in history there was like basically, I mean Bortles was a starter, but essentially he plays like a backup, and then Foles and Keenum were both backups to start the year. I mean just that narrative changes automatically if Drew Brees is thrown in there. The Eagles, no doubt, a phenomenal team. I mean, they beat the Patriots. They won Super Bowl. They absolutely deserved it. Case Keenum can't take anything away from his season. He had a great season coming in relief. Uh, put up his record numbers for him for his career. Led that team in the Miracle in Minneapolis, Miracle in Minnesota. But I mean, let's face it. Going into Philadelphia, the Case Keenum, their running back Latavius Murray because Delvin Cook was hurt. They were just outmatched. They had the 24th or 25th ranked offensive line. They've just I feel like the whole season that offense was just kind of playing above their heads, above water, and finally the dam broke and they just couldn't handle a much better Philly team. Whereas New Orleans, on the other hand, remember that game was played in Minnesota. So New Orleans, I mean, any game on the road's tough. A playoff game on the road is even tougher. So New Orleans, I think, on not just on paper but overall, was a better team than that Minnesota team. Played in Minnesota, so that's going to level it out a little bit when you play on the road. It's going to level, New Orleans is a better team. It's going to be leveled out playing on the road. They had the win secured. There's no reason Minnesota should win that game. And then that unbelievable, amazing play happens. State of Minnesota probably feels best string of luck they've had maybe ever. I know it's been a franchise and just a sports town in general that's had a lot of grief. So I mean, you're happy for them, but yeah, my, how things would have different with Breeze, and I think, like you said, it still would have been in Philly, so it still would have been tough, still been a road game, but Breeze, I think, would have put up a much bigger fight than how Minnesota did, and yeah, we could have seen a Breeze Brady Super Bowl, which we already had Breeze Manning. Breeze Brady would have been great too. I mean, the Super Bowl was fantastic how it was. It was one of the best ever, Super Bowl 52. But obviously, when you have that headline of Breeze and Brady, that just changes things.
Yes, yes, it does. So who knows? Saints are looking really good this year, so they may not run the table because you still have LA. Um, but I wouldn't punch the Rams ticket to the Super Bowl quite yet.
Mm-hmm. It's tough to say, man. I mean, they look freaking good. I know you like to play devil's advocate with the Rams, but I mean, they're just been the only challenge they've had all year. Seahawks in Seattle, a division game, and then the
Mm-hmm.
Broncos in Denver. Other than that, they've been I guess Minnesota at home as well, but they've been blowing other teams out, and that offense is elite, and the defense it's getting better. Not, but as you mentioned, I mean, the Saints, yeah, they're definitely a competitive team. So, um, yeah. So I don't know if you want to add anything else to that. What if? I think that's kind of the idea of it.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. And again, one of these times we'll really start going down some rabbit holes and getting into some really fun conversations.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Yeah, getting into really spiraling down and being like, okay, well, what if this happened? What if this happened? So that'll be more evident in like draft picks and stuff. Like, what if they took this guy instead of this guy, and
Hmm.
this and that? But and this was so soon; it just happened last playoffs, so it's hard to say. So, all right, well, let's move on then. Let's get to our. This is a segment. I love this segment. I think it's great. NFL casting call. It's where we take a movie, a TV show, a self-written script, and we instead of having the actors, we plug in NFL players or personnel who would best play the role. So this week we are doing The Office. I know it's one of your favorites, nearest and dear to your heart. I like
Hmm.
The Office. I enjoy it. Personally, I haven't watched that much of it, so this one was a little tougher for me just because I don't have that deep of knowledge of the show. Um, you know, I pulled it together. I think I put together a decent list. Um,
Well, good.
yeah. So how we do it? We do four of the same, and then we do a write-in wild card that we don't tell each other beforehand. So the four we're doing are Dwight, Jim, Michael Scott, and Pam. You want to start?
Yeah, sure. I
I'll
can
let
start.
I'll let you start. Start with whoever of those four.
So I'm gonna start with Jim. Um,
The old Jim.
Old Jimmer, Jim Halpert. I went with Aaron Rodgers. It just kind of reminds me of the laid back, cool guy. Didn't take things too seriously. But kind of when things get to where you need to kind of fight back, you know, they show up. They're clutch. Um, yeah, I mean, as good as Rodgers is, he kind of just makes it look really easy and, um, kind of laissez-faire about really being there. I mean, he's not a very, outwardly emotional guy. I don't think, when he scores, he kind of does a little, fist bump and stuff. But other than that, he's pretty reserved and kind of just takes things as they come. So yeah, I would love to see Aaron Rodgers in a Jim Halpert kind of role.
Okay, yeah, he's one that crossed my mind. I'm gonna do two at once. I got to combine Jim and Pam. Just makes sense to combine
Sure.
them. So how I did it, you may have done the same, but obviously Jim and Pam have kind of that office romance going on, kind of behind closed doors or whatnot, or everyone kind of knows about it too. But obviously later in the show too. But so I did it as a football bromance. Obviously, I couldn't really think of a woman to throw in there. Obviously are some, but did it as a football bromance. So we took two football players. I'm just gonna play this soundbite real quick, and then I'm gonna break it down.
All right.
It's really unfair. It's my team. It's my quarterback. And if you guys do that, man, it's unfair. We lost as a team. We lost as a team, man.
Do you know that soundbite?
I do. I do.
So, Jim, played by the comparable Tony Romo. Pam, played by Terrell Owens. I just think that scene says it all. That's my quarterback. They kind of have that love connection, that bromance, have each other's backs. Romo, I think, fits the Jim role because when he played, he was, charismatic, kind of not laid back a little bit, a little more fiery maybe than Rodgers, but not as fiery as other quarterbacks we've seen. Still kind of even keel. And Terrell Owens is just kind of I don't want to say it, but played with a lot of emotion. We'll just say that. So he had other qualities that I think would have him fill the good role of Pam.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that. I like that route.
Took a little different approach to it, but I think it works. Tony Romo, Terrell Owens, Jim and Pam. It's my teammate. It's my quarterback.
I love it. I do. So I'll do my Pam. Kind of the same idea as you. Not as sparkling, but I went with Devonte Adams. In the office, Jim and Pam kind of take a while before they really do become official. They always just kind of flirt around with the idea. Then eventually it clicks, and once they do, they're off and running, and there's no looking back. So I kind of see that similarly to Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams. When Adams first came in, Rodgers was, established, and it kind of took a little bit, before Rodgers and Adams became like a really secure connection and one of the best in the league. You would see it. You would see Rodgers and Adams hook up every now and then just one of those times when Adams was now the premier guy and the number one guy. All of a sudden, boom, Rodgers and Adams, one of the best in the league. So.
Yeah,
I can kind of see the Jim and Pam comparison there.
I like it. So okay, you'll know better than me. I'm just spitballing here. Didn't the beginning of the show Jim had like a different girlfriend or like an ex-girlfriend and Pam was like jealous of that connection?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that would be played by Jordy Nelson. That was the initial, that was the love connection. That was established, and when Devonte came in, he really had to try to weasel his way in, and now he's made it. So yeah, and I think they're gonna make bigger records than Rodgers and Jordy ever did.
Hey, we're on to something, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. I like that. That wasn't even part of the script, but that works.
Jordy Nelson is Karen Filippelli.
There you go.
Write it in.
Write it in. Karen Filippelli. I knew there was someone. Okay, Michael Scott. I struggled with this. I don't know why. He's such a complex character in the show and yet so simple at the same time. He plays that he's the leader, but at the same time he has horrible leadership qualities. Um,
Yeah.
right? Like
Weird.
everyone looks up to him. At the same time, everyone just kind of badmouths him behind his back. So I went Joe Flacco. To me,
Okay.
and I feel like everything I said was just negatives. So I don't have anything against Joe Flacco. If he's tuning into the show, welcome, Joe. Would love to have you on. Would love to speak with you. But just kind of that role, just kind of the head, like deer in the headlights look, not always there. You see potential sometimes. There's sometimes Michael Scott makes that business decision that's a great decision, and then an episode later he's out behind the lot with the boys having like a bachelor party or whatever, like doing just weird things. Like I just see that's Joe Flacco to a T. Like he makes a 65-yard touchdown throw, and then in the second half he throws 3 picks and completes under 20% of his passes. So I don't know. That's kind of it. Was more the perceived leader, and at the same time, no one really has that level of respect. That's kind of where I was going with that.
That's exactly my thought process. I just went with another quarterback. I went with Eli Manning.
Okay, he crossed my mind too.
Yeah.
I just thought it was too disrespectful for Eli since he does have 2 Super Bowl wins, but Flacco has 1.
No, yeah, he's Michael Scott right now. I don't know, man. It just everything you said just applied to Eli. That's just, and he's kind of the guy that like, yeah, he's like known as a giant, like he's kind of the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
But yet I could see like at a party or something, like Odell and Saquon, they're like, damn, Eli's here. Like, I didn't think we invited him.
Is he really? Is he in the text thread? Really? Like I thought we removed him.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly, how it would play out in the office. But anyway, yeah, I went with Eli. Same reason you went with Flacco, man. I think those are both pretty good choices.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Dwight. Okay, this one I love this pick, and let me explain it. But the other Manning, Peyton Manning, playing Dwight.
Okay.
The forehead. Let's just start with the forehead. The forehead, first of all, is key. Dwight's got that awkward hairline with the huge forehead. Peyton Manning,
yes.
Huge forehead.
Yes.
So that just the looks right there a little bit. But now for the actual character. If I remember correctly, Dwight he likes playing pranks a lot in the office, does he not?
No, he gets pranked on.
Or pranked on. Yeah, backed it up. So, but Manning, I think it's kind of does a little of both. He does a lot of pranking, but also gets pranked on, especially when he was in the league, just because of how long he was around and he was the veteran. So he played both roles of that. I remember hearing stories in Denver when guys would leave stuff in his locker, he would get pranked or he'd be the old timer. Yeah, I just feel like Manning and Dwight, it's a good mix. He'd play him well.
He would. I like that. This one was the hardest one for me. But I went with Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Andrew Luck's hair is terrible.
The neared. The neck beard, the old neared.
Yeah, and he just looks like kind of one of those, like Dwight Schrute is the top salesman in the company, so he's really good at what he does. Andrew Luck's a pretty darn good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's carrying that offense pretty darn far. But kind of along the same lines as like the Eli being at parties, like same with Andrew Luck. Like I could see him on the sideline just saying like the weirdest stuff to like his teammates, like to try to get him motivated, and just doing it completely like awkwardly, and everybody just kind of looks at him like, God, they just tolerate him because he's so good at what he does. So I don't know. That's kind of where I went with that one.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna let you finish with your write-in, or I'll go. I guess I'll go. So I did.
Okay.
So my write-in, I did Brian Baumgartner,
Okay.
played by Kevin Malone.
Yes.
I kind of siphoned through different writers or different write-ins. Like I said, because I don't watch the show religiously. I watched it enough to have a feel, but it was hard to some of the lesser main characters. I was like, oh, who really would fit this role? Ended up deciding on Brian, and I decided on another Brian Bologna, right tackle for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they kind of have the same look, the same body type, kind of that I feel like Kevin Malone has that awesome stare in The Office, and just that like big stare, and kind of Brian Bologna kind of has that too when he's on the line. So yeah, I don't have a lot of in-depth stuff for this reasoning. It was more based on kind of looks and the Packers O-line has been in Pitch Perfect before, so they have a little acting background. So I think he could do well there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Can't complain about that one.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I was trying to do Andy, played by Ed Helms, and I just could not.
Ooh.
I just couldn't think of anyone.
Yeah, that would be a hard one.
Yeah.
I went with Creed. And I chose Jerry Jones.
Oh.
Creed is like the old guy in the office that like everybody's just like, I don't even remember when you started here, and they're not really sure why he's still working there. Like he produces nothing, and everything he touches just goes to crap. So I kind of see Jerry Jones in that role. Like I get to see people walking around the Dallas organization going like, God, is Jerry still here? Like, shouldn't he retire? Like, I don't even like. He's the only one that started in like Tom Landry era and stuff, and nobody even knows who Tom Landry is. It's just, I don't know. I see that being a perfect role for Jerry Jones.
Yeah. What did he say last year about like the mosquito wings and something, and like do you remember that, like some really obscure that you're just like, are you is it all there anymore? Like
I vaguely remember that. I don't remember details like at all.
Yeah, I can't remember what the quote was, but I'll try to look it up when you're talking in the next segment just to see if we can find it. But yeah, it was one of those things where you're like, this guy's not all there anymore. Like, how is he running a franchise? And then we see him give up a first-round pick for a receiver that's having a horrible year and was bad last year. Yeah, the talent's there, but you could have just re-signed Dez Bryant, who would have basically been as good as Cooper. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But yeah,
like I could, like I know you're not you haven't really seen The Office, but if there's any Office fanatics out there, I could see the scene where Creed is the manager and like everybody's just like trying to keep him like in his little brain and everything, like just keep him calm down. And Pam ends up faking phone calls to him all day, like being fake clients, because Creed gets the idea to just like fire everybody and like get rid of all these clients and stuff. So I can see that with Jerry. Like someone, like one of his assistants is just calling him, making fake phone calls, and Jerry's like, "Give me Tom Brady," and I don't know, it's like just doing these crazy ass things, and everybody within the Dallas organization is just like, all right, just let him, like someone go take care of that.
Yeah. Here, okay, so I found the quote.
Oh, perfect.
It was last year relating to when Romo was out, and if they were, he was gonna start again after Prescott had been playing so well beginning of the year. But he said, you don't have to spend a lot of time going over and kind of circumcising the mosquito. You don't have to do that over there on him, because you look back over on the other side that caused you to make the decision, and there's nobody good enough to take that spot to give you a chance for that if he can come back. What in the hell does that even mean?
I don't know. Yeah, that solidifies my choice. I love it.
Circumcising the mosquito. Yeah, that seems like a Creed thing to say.
Yeah, it does.
So, well played. Well played.
Thank you.
There you have it. NFL casting call, The Office.
I just realized what I was wearing.
There you go. Love
Perfect.
it. That was.
Look at that.
Was that even planned?
It was not planned at all.
Okay. For those watching the podcast or listening to the podcast, tell them what the shirt is.
It's a Dunder Mifflin Incorporated sweatshirt.
There you go. So
one of my prized possessions.
Yeah, love it. So well played. Yeah, that was not planned. We decided on The Office just right before we went live. So Very cool. All right. Well, let's our last segment here. It's been a fun podcast as always. Last one though. This is another new one that we're gonna try. We won't do this all the time, but this is a speed. One fun for now. Obviously, Talon's a Chiefs fan. I'm a Broncos fan, so we kind of have looked through the franchise history of each of our teams, and we've decided on one thing that we would change. And this has to be something that's happened in our lifetime. Obviously, there's stuff in the past we would change. There's tons of things we would change, but we try to narrow it down to one thing if we can really pinpoint it. that we would change that I think would result in better outcomes for our team's future. So, Talon, I'm going to let you go ahead and start with your Chiefs.
Okay, absolutely. I'm going to go the 1997 Kansas City Chiefs divisional playoff against your Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
So
Was that Trent Green or Elvis Gerback?
That's Elvis Gerback.
My man.
So Elvis Gerback, who was like the starter at the beginning of the year, went down after like 2 games, and Rich Gannon comes in as your. I'm sorry, it was like week 8 that Gerback went down, so half the year. So Rich Gannon came in, finished out game 9, week 10 and on. He is the starter, so the team goes 8-1 with him as the starter. Elvis Gerback comes back.
They finished 14-2 on the year, right?
13-3, I believe. I believe they were 13-3.
Yeah. Either way, they won the division. I think they were the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yes, they had the best record in the AFC that year.
Yeah.
And head coach Marty Schottenheimer chooses to play Gerback. Essentially, he pulled the opposite of what Belichick did, where Belichick stuck with Brady instead of putting Bledsoe back in there. Schottenheimer didn't do that. He went with Gerback. And they end up losing 14-10 to Denver, and Denver goes on and wins the Super Bowl. And then they go on to repeat the year after. At the time, that's what I'm changing. Rich Gannon stays the starter. It's not guaranteed the Chiefs win, but with the defense they had, and the offense was going really, really well with Gannon. Yeah, Denver had a really good defense too, but I think a Rich Gannon-led offense puts up more than 10 points. They can, even if our defense held the Broncos to 14, I think Gannon can outscore a 14-point game. And you go on, and I think they take the same path as Denver. They go on and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, they would have. I know Denver, after beating KC, then had to go to Pittsburgh that year, whereas KC would have had another home game since they were the 1 seed, so they would have had an easier path. And that was a Cordell Stewart-led Pittsburgh team, not the Ben Roethlisberger we know, because this was over 15 years ago or so. But yeah, that's a good one. That's an interesting one because sometimes you just need to ride the hot hand. I know sometimes it works the opposite. In 2015, Manning goes down, Brock Osweiler comes in. He goes 5-2, leads the Broncos to the 1 seed, and Kubiak decided to go back to Manning, and obviously the rest is history. But that was kind of more predicated on the defense. But yeah, interesting one. I forgot about Gannon playing half the year that year.
Yeah.
Because then he after that ended up going to Oakland and having a good rest of his career in Oakland.
Yeah. And Schottenheimer chose to stay with Gerback instead of Gannon. So Gannon went and signed with Oakland. Yeah, and he ended up taking the Super Bowl that year when they lost to Tampa.
Yeah, and didn't he win an MVP?
I think he did. And he I think they had a pretty record-breaking offense with Tim Brown and Jerry Rice, and I'm pretty sure they had the best offense in the league that year because it was that Super Bowl was top offense, top defense. But yeah, I mean, if Gannon stays the starter, wins that Super Bowl, he's going to be brought back as a starter moving forward, and then who knows? With that defense that we had, we could have gotten maybe another Super Bowl, maybe a couple more appearances. Who's to say?
Yeah,
that one instant changed a lot of things.
Yeah, this is kind of that what if rabbit hole that we were doing earlier. Like a lot of things could have changed, and the Chiefs may have not had to wait 15 more years for a playoff win. Yet they played again in that game.
Exactly. Yeah, but unfortunately,
Schottenheimer may not last. When did he lose his job? 2-3 years later.
Yeah. 2 years later. Yep.
Yeah, so he may have stayed there longer and.
Yeah, a lot of things, man, would have been so different.
Crazy. So
that one decision hadn't been made.
For the Broncos, oh man, it's tough. They're already down to 2. I'll pick one. I might just mention my other one at the end for fun. But the one that always just I think rubs me, and a lot of people are just living the now, so everyone wants to talk about passing on McVay or Shanahan and signing Vance Joseph as the head coach, like drafting Paxton Lynch. But it's like those are too soon. That's too 2 years. Who knows? Maybe Vance Joseph makes through the year and we end up winning Super Bowls with him. So I'm not going to talk about anything that soon. So but it was another coaching hire. I'm gonna say the moment the Broncos fired Shanahan and hired Josh McDaniels as the head coach. At the time, he was the youngest coach in NFL history, I believe, coming over from New England. Obviously, ran an offense over there with a lot of firepower, with some Super Bowls. But, being under that Belichick regime, we haven't seen a lot of fruit bear from that tree. I like that metaphor, I hope. Yeah, so he came over, and essentially, I remember specifically when Shanahan, I mean, technically he was fired. It was kind of a mutual agreement between him and Bolin, them being really close friends. When McDaniels came in, Shanahan kind of asked of him, like, just don't, I'm not quoting, this is paraphrasing, basically said, don't mess with the offense. The offense is good. Like, you're the head coach, do what you want. We've built this offense. We've taken years to build it. We've done it through the draft, drafting Brandon Marshall, drafting Jay Cutler, all these different players. Don't mess with the office. What's the first thing he does? Comes in, tries to trade for frickin' drawing a blank on his name. He was the backup to Brady. Had that one good year. Played for your Chiefs. You signed him to a big deal.
Matt Castle.
Thank you. Yes, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Okay, tried to trade for Matt Castle right off the bat. Okay, so you have a franchise quarterback. You have a new coach come in, and your new coach is going to try to trade for a quarterback. That's not going to sit well, which it didn't, because then Cutler was basically unhappy from the start, and we can get into Cutler and his career or whatever, but he was a very up and coming quarterback when he was with Denver. He was. Yeah. We can say what we want about him now, but he was up and coming. So yeah, he ended up lasting, I think, 6 games under McDaniels before we ended up trading him for Kyle Orton and a couple picks. So that, already getting rid of your franchise quarterback right off the bat, there you go. Then Brandon Marshall, they never could get along. Ends up trading Brandon Marshall, who was at the time one of the great receivers, ends up having one of the great receiver careers, gets rid of him. Ends up finishing, I believe, 8-8 or 7-9 his first year, and then goes like 1-6 before getting fired in year 2. So basically everything that the Broncos had built up to then, and yeah, they had some struggles under Shanahan, but they had been building something. He just basically came and ripped it to shreds, traded everyone away, cut players, built bad blood, and then goes to the Rams for 1 year, and then guess where he ends up back? With the New England Patriots. If you go to Denver and you bring up Josh McDaniels, it comes up as like the biggest conspiracy theory ever. That it was literally just the Patriots organization trying to have him go and fleece Denver out of everything they had, and then just come right back and go and win 3 more Super Bowls. Like, it's unbelievable. I get fired up just talking about it because I can't stand the guy. And then seeing what he did this year, being like on the top list for head coaching gigs, saying and committing to the Colts, and then last minute backing out after the Colts had basically taken everyone else off their interviews, and then he just goes and be like, yeah, I'm just going to stay in New England, thinking that maybe he'll get the head coaching job after Belichick retires. The guy's a joke. Can't stand him. Yeah, definitely my number one thing I would change in Broncos history.
Okay, very nice. Who would have you gone after?
Oh, man. Well, I got to think back. That was, okay, what year was this? I'm trying to think when they hired him. This was probably almost a decade ago, if not more. I think it was right around a decade ago, right around 2010.
Yes, he was the head coach for the Denver Broncos in 2009 and 2010.
Okay. On the spot, I can't think of anyone on the spot right now, to be honest with you. But, yeah, not him.
No, that's fine. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, because he came for a year and a half. We fired him midway through whatever that was, 2011. And not to mention, while he was on our team, he got in trouble for another Spygate incident, spying on like the Niners or something, and got us fined, and I don't think it cost us a draft pick, but put us on that list. So yeah, he did that too. Cheating the Patriot way. Unreal.
Yeah, pretty unreal. Mm-hmm. Pretty unreal.
Yeah, would have changed that. Even I don't care. Bring in anyone else but him. At least they wouldn't have traded away every single asset we had, basically. So the other one I just had like little consolation one. I won't get into it, but Super Bowl 48, first offensive snap of the game, safety.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
saying we would have beat the Seahawks. They were a loaded defense, good team, but when your first possession in the Super Bowl is a safety, first play, it's a bad start to a game.
Yes,
And
it
we
is.
just could never recover. So it would have been interesting to see if that didn't happen. But McDaniels,
Yeah.
I think, still was worse. That play may have been my number one if the Broncos didn't go on a year two later and win the Super Bowl. If they haven't been back since then that might be number one. But they did.
Right.
They won it. So we forget a little bit.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Anything else, sir, you want to add?
No. I like that little 1F thing. I think there's a lot of stuff we can do with that. That's fun. Fun
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah, well, like we always say, if you guys have some scenarios, you want to tweet at us, message us, however you want to do it. We'd love to talk those out. Same with our NFL casting call. We bring this up every week, but if you have a movie or a TV show you want to hear, or even have written your own little short story script, we'd love to hear those, and we can break those down, see if we can fill your cast the way maybe you would want them to be filled by NFL athletes or personnel. So. As I always mention, make sure to head over to sportsaldente.com, subscribe to one of our packages. We have monthly, yearly, and lifetime packages. That's going to get you access to all of our content across the web for good. It's a low monthly price, $2.99 a month. I mean, you can barely, they don't have dollar menu items almost for that much. Don't you love that? McDonald's still calls it the dollar menu, and yet a double cheeseburger is like $1.99, but it's on the dollar menu. Or like $1.49 for a McChicken. Why call it a dollar menu if it's not going to be a dollar?
You're getting fired up.
No, I don't get it. So anyway, so yeah, you can subscribe monthly to everything we offer for $2.99. It's the $3 menu. We'll call it that. If you subscribe to our yearly or lifetime, you're going to get a free Sports Al Dente coffee mug. A little perk for you, kind of cool. Yeah, so check it out. Give us feedback. We love it. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll do this same time next week. What do you say?
I love it.
Yeah, so thanks, guys. Coach and the Don signing off. We will talk to you next week.